If you're considering relocating your business to a new state, getting it right is critical. In this video, I'll show you how to move your LLC to a new state smoothly without any headaches and helping you stay compliant when you do it.
Let's say you're a construction company in Ohio. You live in Ohio and you formed an Ohio LLC, but you want to move to Oklahoma. Instead of dissolving it or administratively dissolving it in Ohio and then restarting in Oklahoma, you can move the company. It's called a domestication or continuance of the company from Ohio to Oklahoma. The benefit of that is that you get to keep the original formation date. So if you formed it in 2000, the company has a great history. It's got a Dun & Bradstreet number. It's got all sorts of positive information on the internet about it. You can move that company to Oklahoma and still say founded in 2000. You also get to keep your tax status, your EIN. So if you have an EIN for the Ohio company, that moves right along with it to Oklahoma. That's easier when you have that established business instead of administratively dissolving it or formally dissolving in Ohio and then restarting all over. You could just move the company to a new state. Sometimes you don't want to do that. Sometimes you want to sever ties, right? If it's a new company, things didn't work out, there's some negative history associated with the company in Ohio. Maybe you make the decision, I'm going to start from scratch in Oklahoma and form a new company, maybe with a new name. You could form it with the same name, but there would be no connection between the two in any public records. So people wouldn't know that those companies were actually connected to each other. Doing a continuance or a domestication, i.e. moving your company from one state to another, is somewhat complicated. There are filings that must be made in both states. You need certified copies of the company's documents that were filed in Ohio and need to provide those to the state of Oklahoma. You also need to do articles of domestication. They go by different names. Again, it can be a continuance, domestication. Each state has its own sort of language around this. But you fill out a document that says this company existed in Ohio, it was formed on this date, it's in good standing, and we're choosing to move it to Oklahoma. You fill out Oklahoma's documents and then supply Oklahoma with whatever it is they ask for. Then you need to go and you need to let Ohio know this company's not here anymore. And they may have their own process for it after you do the move of the company. Maybe it's just a formal dissolution. Maybe there's something else that goes into the state records. Domestications can be complicated. And so we do recommend you go to experts. Our company does hundreds and hundreds of domestications and continuances every year, and our team can assist you with ensuring it's done right. Moving a company or domesticating or continuing a company from one state to another, it can have some tax complications associated with it. If you were set up as an employer in Ohio, you were paying employee withholding. You were giving that to the state of Ohio. Now you're moving to Oklahoma, right? You'd have to set that up in Oklahoma. If you were a taxpayer collecting sales tax or use tax in Ohio, you need to do that now in Oklahoma. If it was a partnership, you had to file an Ohio partnership return. Now you're going to have to do an Oklahoma partnership return. And if you move mid-year, you may need to do both. You may do it for Ohio for half the year, Oklahoma for half the year. So there's definitely some complexities for operating businesses that are mature that really are the ones who would likely do a domestication or continuance. And so it's important to really have a good tax professional who can assist you with understanding what exactly you need to do so you satisfy the requirements in both the original state as well as the new state. There are definitely going to be things you need to do in both locations. So it's important that you get a professional to help. If you're doing business in a state, then your LLC should either be formed there or it's going to need to be foreign entity registered there if it was formed in another state. States want you to make it easy if you're doing business in the state for a citizen of that state to sue you. If your company is regularly doing business in a particular state, you've got a storefront in Ohio, then you're going to have an Ohio LLC or an LLC formed in another state that's foreign entity registered in Ohio, because Ohio doesn't want it to be the case that if you harm an Ohio citizen, they need to go to, say, Wyoming to sue your company. They want you to make it easy for a citizen to sue you. That's why the foreign entity registration or formation is required in that state if you're doing business there. And so if you personally move from one state to another and your business moves from one state to another, a question to ask is, am I doing business in the new state? If you have an online consulting business, all you're doing is consulting over the internet, and you have an Ohio LLC, but then move to Oklahoma, you're not really doing business in Oklahoma. You were doing business in Ohio because you formed your LLC there. But if you personally move to Oklahoma, the better choice would be to move your Ohio LLC to Wyoming, because you're not doing business in Oklahoma. You were doing business in Ohio because that's where you formed your company. But do you want to be really locked down with Oklahoma now? It may be an easier process to move to Wyoming. If you have a business that doesn't have employees, doesn't have physical presence in a particular state, to form a Wyoming LLC, because it has so many things going for it. The privacy, the asset protection, and the cost, those big three. With Wyoming, they beat out the competition without any question in my mind.
There's a lot to learn when it comes to managing an LLC, and this is just the start. Whether you're thinking about the taxes, legal compliance, growing your business, whether you're just a startup or whether your business has been around for years, there's always more to learn when it comes to understanding what your LLC can do, making sure that it's legally compliant, and making sure it delivers all the limited liability protection that you signed up for. If you thought this video was helpful, like and subscribe so you can learn more.